All right, welcome to Unit 4, Day 1. We're going to talk about the Cartesian plane today. This is where we're going to start applying a little bit more mathematics to the relationships we've been studying. So if you haven't done so already, I want you to go to Desmos or student.desmos.com and start by trying this introductory activity and type in that code. And you can push pause and come back to the video once you've done the Desmos exploring activity. All right, so you learned a little bit about the Cartesian plane and the coordinate system, and I'll explain to you why it's so important for this unit talking about lines and slopes, describing relationships. So remember from last unit, we know that relationships can be described in words. So for example, here's something that says a relation where the second value is 2 less than the first. We'll get more interesting relationships in a moment, but we're just starting with a basic one. So the second value is 2 less than the first. So you can write it in words, or you might write it as a set of ordered pairs, things like this. And you notice that the second value is always 2 less than the first. So if you have 3 as the first, then obviously 1 is that, and smaller, and then even negatives, where the second value is 2 less than the first. We don't often write them like this. We usually see the ordered pairs in a table of values, something like this. And so there, the second value, or the y value, is 2 less than the first. So we can describe relationships in words, or a table of values, or we've seen a lot of this as a graph. And so we can take these coordinates and put them on a graph to help describe that relationship. So for example, those 4 points would all translate to these 4 points in there. And then we can take this and draw a line through them to describe that relationships outside this point, extrapolate from outside the points here, because this relation could describe millions of points on that. And then the fourth way we can describe it is as an equation. And this is what we're going to do in the next unit. Here we're going to get comfortable with the relationships and these lines and steepness of the lines, and then we'll graduate to equations. Okay? All right, so just more stuff about the Cartesian plane that you hopefully discovered in the Desmos activity. We know it's named after René Descartes, who invented this, the French mathematician. It consists of a horizontal axis, it's called the x-axis, and the vertical axis is called the y-axis. Points are located by ordered pairs. The x value, since it comes first alphabetically, it comes first in the ordered pairs. So if you're ever forgetting which is which, the x coordinate is first and the y coordinate is second, because alphabetically x comes before y. And if we're describing the point 4, 2, you move along the x first, again alphabetical, so you move this way first to the point 4 and then up to 2, and we get to that spot. I'm sure we've all played Battleship before, where you make this coordinate for one number and another number. Battleship, it's a letter and a number, but you get to that point. We just got to remember that the x comes first and the y comes second. All right, so we could look at other points. So for example, the 2, 6, imagine in your head where the point 2, 6 goes, but the first value is x, so it goes over to the 2, and the y value is 6, which is just past the 5 here. So we would go up and we'd want to place this guy right here, that point 2, 6. We've done this coordinate mapping and placement all in the first quadrant before, because a lot of the situations we're only dealing with here. But at the Cartesian plane, you can go outside of that and get into negatives as well. So for example, negative 3, 3. The x coordinate is negative 3, so we're going to have to go left to negative 3 and then up to a positive 3, and we get right there. The point's right there. Okay, there are other interesting points. For example, what do you think this point is right here? It's just on the y-axis. So the x, we don't move left or right. So the x coordinate must be 0 and the y coordinate must be 2. And so that point would be 0, negative 2. I think there's another point someplace around here. Oh, negative 4, 1. All right, so in this case, we're going to go negative 4 to the left and then down to negative 1 to get that coordinate right there. Okay, so you can imagine where all these coordinates, so we can even get into a positive and negative and get down into quadrants here. One other point I want to point out, and it was stressed in the Desmos activity, is the origin. Okay, the point 0, 0. And that's a very important point. Okay, it's where we start a lot of these graphs, is the origin 0, 0. Okay. So I've got a little activity here. It's kind of fun just to get you practicing doing the coordinates. This is all in the positive x-axis, the first quadrant. So these are all positive numbers, a little bit easier to start. And the way it works is we go 3, 7. So we're going to find the coordinate that is 3, 7, the letter that's 3, 7. So since the first one's x, we go over to 3, up to 7, and I think you can see it's p. 2, 6. So we're going to over 2, up to 6, and we get to I. Just click on I here. There we go. Next, 8, 8. So we go all the way over to 8 and all the way up to 8. So there's that point Z. And there's another one. So there's two of those. And I think you probably know that this looks like the word pizza. 0, 7. So 0, 7. So the question is, we're going to go nowhere on the x-axis. So we just go to 0 and we go straight up to 7. And there's that A that we were hoping for. All right. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video just for a second. And you can just look at this and write it on a scrap piece of paper. You're not going to hand anything in here. Using the grid above, work out the letters and then put them in the correct order to find a well-known country. So what you're going to do is you're going to get all these letters, but it's going to be scrambled up. Then you'll have to decide what the letter is, or what the country is. So I'll get you started. 2, 2, 2, 2. It looks like E, so that's the letter E. You find the other ones and then figure out what it is. And when you think you've done both of these and figured out the country, push pause or unpause it again and come back and see the answer. Okay, so we're back. Hopefully these are the letters that you got. And if you unscramble that, you'll get a well-known country in Europe, Germany. Next, hopefully you got these letters. And the well-known country for this one is also in Europe. It's right next to Germany. It's France. Okay. So these two activities, these were just fun stuff to get us started. There are two Desmos activities I'd like you to try now. This one is a mini golf thing. So you'll be using the coordinate system to build little ramps to get mini golfs. And then the second activity is a bullseye activity where you need to try and use the coordinate to get more bullseye activities. These are both meant to be fun, interactive stuff just to practice the Cartesian planes. So do as much of these as you'd like, just lots of fun. And that'll be all the work we have for today. Thanks very much. Have fun with your Desmos activities.